The night sky over Earth's Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico was clear and full of stars. Dr. Maria Rodriguez yawned as she stared at the computer screens in front of her. It was another quiet night of listening to the cosmos, searching for signs of alien life. She reached for her coffee mug, only to find it empty. As she stood up to get a refill, a loud beep from her computer made her freeze. Her eyes widened as she looked at the screen. The signal was unlike anything she had ever seen before. It was strong, clear, and definitely not natural. "Holy shit," she whispered, her hands shaking as she reached for the phone. "We need to call the director. Now." Within hours, observatories around the world confirmed the signal. Something big was heading towards Earth. And fast. The news spread like wildfire, and soon, the whole planet was in a state of panic. In Washington, D.C., President Sarah Chen paced back and forth in the Oval Office. Her advisors watched nervously as she listened to the latest update from NASA. "So, you're telling me that a fleet of something is approaching our solar system?" she asked, her voice tense. "Yes, Madam President," replied Dr. James Wong, the head of NASA. "Based on their speed and trajectory, they'll reach Earth in about 48 hours. President Chen took a deep breath. "And we have no idea if they're friendly or not." "No, ma'am. We've tried sending messages, but there's been no response." The president nodded grimly. "All right. I want all our defense systems on high alert, and get me a direct line to the UN. We need to present a united front." As world leaders scrambled to prepare for a potential invasion, the alien fleet drew closer. Military bases around the world were buzzing with activity. Fighters were fueled and armed, missiles were readied, and soldiers stood at attention, waiting for orders. In New York City, the streets were eerily empty. Most people had either fled or were huddled in their homes, glued to their TV screens. In Times Square, a lone hot dog vendor named Joe stubbornly kept his cart open. "End of the world or not, people gotta eat," he muttered to himself as he grilled another hot dog. Suddenly, every screen in Times Square flickered. The panicked news anchors disappeared, replaced by a strange symbol. It looked like a spiral galaxy, but with odd angular shapes mixed in. Joe's jaw dropped as he stared at the screens. What the hell? All around the world, on every TV, radio, and internet-connected device, the same thing happened. Then, a voice spoke. It was deep and resonant, with an odd echo that made it sound both ancient and futuristic. "People of Earth," the voice said, "do not be afraid. We come in peace." In the UN General Assembly, hundreds of delegates fell silent as they listened to the alien message. "We are the Galactic Empire, a federation of over 10,000 star systems. We have watched your planet for many years, and we believe you are ready to join our grand civilization. We request permission to enter your atmosphere for diplomatic talks." As the message ended, chaos erupted in the assembly. Some delegates cheered at the prospect of peaceful contact, while others shouted warnings of potential trickery. Back in the Oval Office, President Chen stood in shocked silence. Her chief of staff, Tom, cleared his throat. "Ma'am, what are your orders?" Chen shook her head, as if coming out of a daze. "Get me the UN Secretary General and the leaders of China, Russia, and the EU. We need to form a united response." She turned to look out the window at the Washington Monument, gleaming in the distance. "One way or another," she said softly, "everything changes today." As night fell over Earth, billions of people looked up at the sky, wondering what the coming days would bring. In orbit, the International Space Station crew watched in awe as the first alien ships became visible, their sleek forms reflecting the sun's light. Humanity stood on the brink of a new era. The question was, would it be one of peace and progress, or of conflict and subjugation? Only time would tell. The world held its breath as the massive alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere. They were unlike anything humans had ever seen. Sleek, shimmering vessels that seemed to bend light around them. The largest ship, easily the size of a small city, came to rest above the United Nations headquarters in New York. Inside the UN building, the newly formed Earth United Council waited nervously. Representatives from every nation on Earth were present, a show of unity in the face of this unprecedented event. President Sarah Chen of the United States stood at the front, flanked by other world leaders. Her face was calm, but her hands, hidden behind her back, were clenched tightly. A beam of blue light appeared in the center of the room, and 3 alien figures materialized. They were tall, with silvery skin and large dark eyes. Their bodies seemed to shimmer, as if they weren't fully solid. The alien in the center stepped forward. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move. Instead, its words echoed directly in everyone's minds. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Ambassador Zix of the Galactic Empire. We come with an offer of friendship and advancement." President Chen stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador. We are curious about your offer." Zix nodded, or at least made a motion that seemed like a nod. "We have watched your planet for many cycles. Your species has great potential. We offer you membership in our vast empire." Excited murmurs filled the room. Zix continued, "With this membership comes access to advanced technology beyond your imagination. Cures for all diseases, the ability to travel between stars, protection from any threat in the galaxy." The murmurs grew louder, but then Zix added, "In return, Earth must submit to imperial rule. Your governments will answer to the Empire. Your resources will be shared with other imperial worlds." The room fell silent. President Chen's eyes narrowed. "And if we refuse?" Zix's large eyes blinked slowly. "Then you will remain isolated, vulnerable. There are many dangers in the galaxy that you are not prepared for." In London, Jack Thompson watched the broadcast of the meeting with wide eyes. He turned to his wife. "Mary, blimey, love. Sounds like they're offering us the universe for a price." Mary frowned. "Sounds like they're trying to buy us off. I don't trust it." Similar conversations were happening all over the world. In a small village in Kenya, elders gathered around a radio, debating the pros and cons of joining this alien empire. In Tokyo, businessmen in a high-rise office argued about the potential economic impacts. Back at the UN, the Earth United Council asked for time to consider the offer. Zix agreed, giving them 48 hours to decide. As soon as the aliens left, chaos erupted in the council chamber. Some leaders were eager to accept, dazzled by the promises of advanced technology. Others were suspicious, seeing the offer as a thinly veiled threat. President Chen called for order. "We need to think this through carefully. The fate of our entire species is at stake." The Chinese president, Li Wei, stood up. "We cannot give up our sovereignty. The price is too high." "But think of the benefits," countered the Brazilian representative. "We could end hunger, disease, climate change." Debates raged on through the night. Scientists were consulted, trying to gauge the potential impact of alien technology. Military leaders warned of the dangers of giving up control. As dawn broke over New York, President Chen stood at the window of her hotel room, watching the alien ships hover silently over the city. Her aide, Tom, entered the room. "Ma'am, we've received reports from around the world. People are divided, but there's a growing sentiment against accepting the Empire's offer." Chen nodded. "And what do you think, Tom?" Tom hesitated. "Honestly, it scares me. It's too good to be true. There has to be a catch." "I agree," Chen said softly. "But how do we say no to a power that could potentially wipe us out?" As the deadline approached, tension around the world reached a fever pitch. People gathered in streets, parks, and town squares, waiting for news. In the council chamber, the Earth United Council prepared to deliver their response to the Galactic Empire. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. President Chen took a deep breath and stepped forward to face Ambassador Zix. The eyes of the world were upon her as she prepared to deliver Earth's decision. While world leaders debated the Galactic Empire's offer, a team of scientists made a shocking discovery in the remote highlands of Tibet. Dr. Amelia Chung, a brilliant archaeologist, had been exploring a series of ancient caves when her equipment detected an odd energy signature. "This can't be right," she muttered, tapping her scanner. But the readings remained the same. As she ventured deeper into the cave system, the energy readings grew stronger. Finally, she entered a large cavern and gasped. In the center of the room stood a towering structure, unlike anything she had ever seen. It was made of a strange, shimmering metal that seemed to pulse with an inner light. "Base camp, do you copy?" she radioed, her voice shaking with excitement. "I think I've found something. Something big." Within hours, the cave was swarming with scientists and military personnel. As they studied the structure, they realized it was some kind of ancient alien artifact, but its purpose remained a mystery. Dr. Chang worked tirelessly, trying to decipher the strange symbols carved into the artifact's surface. As she worked, she noticed a small indentation that looked like a handprint. Curiosity overtook caution, and she placed her hand on it. Suddenly, the artifact hummed to life. A holographic display appeared, showing images of advanced technology and weapons beyond human understanding. "It's some kind of database," Dr. Chung breathed, "and a blueprint for defensive systems." As the scientists pored over the newfound information, they realized they had stumbled upon something incredible. The artifact contained details of defensive technology far beyond even what the Galactic Empire possessed. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., President Chen was in a secure bunker, discussing strategy with her top advisors. The deadline to respond to the Empire was fast approaching, and they were no closer to a decision. Suddenly, her secure phone rang. It was the head of the Tibet research team. "Madam President," the excited voice said, "you're not going to believe what we found." As President Chen listened to the report, her eyes widened. For the first time since the aliens arrived, a smile crossed her face. "How quickly can we implement this technology?" she asked. "With the blueprints from the artifact, we could have a working prototype in 24 hours, came the reply. Chen nodded. "Do it, and keep this absolutely secret." Across the globe, in hidden facilities and secret labs, Earth's top scientists and engineers worked around the clock. They pored over the alien blueprints, adapting the advanced technology to work with Earth's existing systems. In orbit, aboard the International Space Station, astronaut John Martinez looked out at the looming alien ships. His radio crackled to life. "ISS, this is Houston. We're sending you some new software. Install it immediately." As John worked, he noticed something strange. The station's systems were changing, becoming more powerful. Its sensors could suddenly detect things they never could before. Back on Earth, military bases were a flurry of activity. Weapons were being modified, shields were being installed, and soldiers were being briefed on technology they could hardly believe existed. In New York, the Earth United Council reconvened. President Chen stood before them, her face resolute. "My fellow leaders," she began, 24 hours ago, "we faced an impossible choice. But now, we have hope. We have a chance to stand on our own, to show the galaxy that humanity will not be bullied or coerced." She outlined the discovery of the artifact and the rapid implementation of its technology. The council listened in awe. "We now have the means to defend ourselves," Chen continued. "I propose we reject the Empire's offer and demand they leave our solar system." A murmur of excitement rippled through the room. The Brazilian representative stood up. "But can we be sure this technology will work? The Empire's power is vast." Chen smiled. "Sometimes we must take a leap of faith, for the sake of our freedom, our dignity, and our future." One by one, the world leaders voted. The decision was unanimous. Earth would stand its ground. As the council session ended, President Chen looked out at the alien ships hovering over New York. In a few hours, they would deliver their response to the Empire. She took a deep breath, hoping they had made the right choice. Across the Earth, people waited anxiously for news. In homes, in bars, in town squares, all eyes were on screens, all ears tuned to radios. The next few hours would determine the fate of humanity. In the Tibetan cave, Dr. Chang stood before the ancient artifact, its soft glow illuminating her face. She placed her hand on its cool surface and whispered, "I hope you're as powerful as we think you are. We're going to need all the help we can get." The United Nations building in New York buzzed with tension. World leaders, diplomats, and military officials filled the main chamber, their faces a mix of determination and fear. Outside, crowds gathered, their eyes fixed on the massive alien ships that loomed overhead. President Sarah Chen of the United States took her place at the podium. She looked out at the sea of faces before her, then up at the hovering camera drones that would broadcast this moment to billions around the world. "People of Earth," she began, her voice steady and strong. "Today, we face the most important decision in human history." In living rooms, town squares, and stadiums across the globe, people held their breath. In a small cafe in Paris, an old man gripped his coffee cup tightly. In a crowded market in Mumbai, all eyes were glued to a small TV hanging from a stall. Chen continued, "The Galactic Empire has offered us membership, promising advanced technology and protection. But the price they ask is high. Our freedom, our right to govern ourselves." She paused, letting her words sink in. In the chamber, the Russian president nodded grimly, while the Chinese premier's face remained impassive. "For the past 48 hours, we have debated this offer. We have consulted experts, listened to our citizens, and searched our hearts. And now we have reached a decision." In orbit, aboard the International Space Station, the crew floated silently, listening to the broadcast. Astronaut John Martinez crossed his fingers, hoping the new defensive systems they had installed would work if needed. Back in New York, Chen's voice grew stronger. "We, the United Nations of Earth, have decided to reject the Empire's offer. We choose to remain free, to chart our own course among the stars." A collective gasp echoed around the world. In London's Trafalgar Square, a cheer went up from the crowd. In a small village in Kenya, elders nodded approvingly. To the Galactic Empire, Chen continued, her eyes now fixed on the alien ships visible through the chamber's windows. "We say this. We appreciate your offer, but we must decline. Earth is our home, and we will govern it as we see fit. We respectfully ask that you leave our solar system." As she finished speaking, a tense silence fell over the chamber. Everyone waited for the Empire's response. Suddenly, a beam of light appeared in the center of the room. Ambassador Zix materialized, his silvery form shimmering in the artificial light. "You disappoint us, humans," Zix's voice echoed in everyone's minds. "We offered you greatness, and you choose isolation. This is most unfortunate." President Chen stood her ground. "We choose freedom, Ambassador. Surely a great civilization like yours can understand that." Zix's large eyes blinked slowly. "Freedom. You do not understand the dangers that lurk in the void of space. Without our protection, you are vulnerable." "We are prepared to face those dangers on our own terms," Chen replied firmly. The alien ambassador's form seemed to ripple with anger. "You leave us no choice. If you will not join us willingly, we must insist. For your own good, of course." A murmur of alarm spread through the chamber. Chen's eyes narrowed. "Is that a threat, Ambassador?" "It is reality," Zix replied coldly. "You have 24 hours to reconsider your decision. After that, we will be forced to take alternative measures." With that, Zix vanished in another flash of light. The chamber erupted into chaos as leaders argued about what to do next. Outside, the news spread quickly. In Tokyo, people rushed to stock up on supplies. In Rio de Janeiro, crowds gathered on the beach, some praying, others partying as if it were their last day. In the Oval Office, President Chen met with her top military advisors. "Are we ready?" she asked, her voice tense. General Rodriguez nodded. The new defensive systems are online, Madam President. If they attack, we'll be ready. Chen looked out the window at the Washington Monument, wondering if it would still be standing in 24 hours. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. As night fell across the earth, people everywhere looked up at the stars, now hidden by the massive shapes of the Empire's ships. In homes and shelters, families huddled together, waiting to see what the new day would bring. In the Tibetan cave, Dr. Amelia Chang worked furiously, trying to unlock more secrets from the ancient artifact. She knew that somewhere in its alien database might lie the key to Earth's survival. The clock was ticking. In 24 hours, humanity would face its greatest test. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and the whole world held its breath, waiting for the Empire's next move. The 24-hour ultimatum ticked away like a time bomb. As the deadline approached, the world held its breath. Military bases around the globe were on high alert, their new defense systems humming with energy from the ancient alien artifact. In New York, the United Nations building had been evacuated. President Sarah Chen and other world leaders had moved to a secure underground bunker. They watched tensely as the final minutes counted down. 10 seconds, announced General Rodriguez, his eyes fixed on the clock. Chen gripped the edge of the table. "May God help us all," she whispered. As the clock struck 0, the Empire's ships began to move. Their sleek forms glided through the sky, taking up attack positions around the globe. Suddenly, the sky lit up with blinding flashes. The Empire had opened fire. But something unexpected happened. As the alien energy beams raced towards Earth's cities, they hit an invisible barrier. The air shimmered and rippled, but the attacks dissipated harmlessly. In the bunker, cheers erupted. "The shields are working," shouted the Chinese premier, his usual stoic demeanor broken by a wide grin. Chen allowed herself a small smile. It worked. "Now, let's show them what else we can do." Around the world, Earth's military sprang into action. Fighter jets took to the skies, now equipped with weapons based on the artifact's technology. Ground-based cannons powered up, their barrels glowing with strange energy. In orbit, astronaut John Martinez watched in awe from the International Space Station. The station's new systems had transformed it into a powerful command center. "Houston, we have multiple bogies incoming," he reported, his voice tense but steady. "Roger that, ISS," came the reply. "You're clear to engage." John took a deep breath and activated the station's defenses. Beams of energy shot out, striking the approaching alien fighters. To his amazement, the Empire's ships exploded in silent bursts of light. Back on Earth, the battle raged. In the skies over London, Tokyo, and Rio de Janeiro, human fighters clashed with alien ships. The Empire's technology was advanced, but Earth's new defenses leveled the playing field. In Cairo, people watched from rooftops as Egyptian jets, glowing with strange energy, drove back the alien attackers. In Sydney, cheers rang out as the Opera House's shield deflected a massive energy blast, the alien beams splashing harmlessly into the harbor. But the Empire wasn't giving up easily. They launched wave after wave of attacks, probing for weaknesses in Earth's defenses. In her Tibetan lab, Dr. Amelia Chang worked frantically. "There must be more we can use," she muttered, her fingers flying over the alien artifact's controls. Suddenly, the device pulsed with new energy. "Yes," she shouted, quickly relaying the information to military command. Minutes later, a new weapon activated. From hidden bases around the world, enormous cannons emerged. They fired in unison, sending massive energy pulses into space. The blasts tore through the Empire's largest ships, cutting them in half. In the Empire's command ship, Ambassador Zix watched in disbelief as his fleet was decimated. "Impossible," he hissed. "How could these primitives have such power?" On Earth, the tide of battle was turning. More and more alien ships fell from the sky or retreated into space. In New Delhi, people danced in the streets as they watched the invaders flee. In Mexico City, crowds cheered every explosion in the sky. Back in the underground bunker, President Chen and the other leaders monitored the battle. Reports were coming in from around the world. Earth was winning. "Madam President," General Rodriguez said, his voice filled with awe, "the Empire's forces are retreating. We've done it. We've won." The room erupted in cheers and tears of joy. Chen closed her eyes, relief washing over her. But she knew this was just the beginning. As the last of the Empire's ships disappeared into the depths of space, a new challenge faced humanity. They had proven themselves on the galactic stage, but at what cost? Cities lay damaged, thousands were injured, and the world had changed forever. Chen stood up, her face resolute. "Ladies and gentlemen," she addressed the world leaders, "we've won the battle, but our work is just beginning. We must rebuild, and we must prepare. The galaxy now knows we're here, and we must be ready for whatever comes next." As dawn broke over a battle-scared but victorious Earth, humanity looked to the stars with new eyes. They had faced their greatest challenge and emerged stronger. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: Earth would never be the same again. News of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On countless worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes gathered around communication devices, listening in disbelief to reports of the mighty Galactic Empire's defeat. On Zorg, a planet of silicon-based life forms, crystalline beings vibrated with excitement. "The humans did what?" one asked, its facets glowing with surprise. "They beat the Empire," another answered, its structure pulsing with amazement. A primitive world, standing up to the greatest power in the galaxy, and winning. Similar scenes played out across thousands of worlds. In the swamps of Gloop, blob-like aliens bubbled with joy. In the floating cities of Eros, winged beings soared in celebration. Back on Earth, humanity was still coming to terms with its newfound status as a galactic power. In the rebuilt United Nations building in New York, President Sarah Chen addressed a gathering of world leaders. "We have proven ourselves on the galactic stage," she said, her voice firm. "But with great power comes great responsibility. We must decide how to use our new technology and our new position in the galaxy." The debate that followed was heated. Some leaders wanted to use their power to explore the stars. Others argued for caution, fearing more alien threats. As they argued, a message arrived from deep space. Chen read it aloud, her eyes widening. "It's from a planet called Libertas. They're asking for our help. The Empire is threatening them, and they've heard of our victory." The room fell silent. Then the Brazilian representative stood up. "We know what it's like to face the Empire's threats. We must help them." A cheer went up. Earth had found its first ally in the galaxy. Meanwhile, on the Empire's capital world, Imperius Prime, chaos reigned. The Emperor, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline form, crackled with rage. How could this happen? He boomed, his voice shaking the Grand Hall. How could a primitive world defeat our mighty fleet? Ambassador Zix, kneeling before the Emperor, trembled. They had technology we've never seen before, Your Highness. It was as if they knew our weaknesses. The Emperor's form pulsed dangerously. Find out where they got this technology, and prepare a new fleet. We will not let this insult stand. But the Empire's problems were just beginning. Inspired by Earth's victory, other worlds began to rebel. On Mecca, a planet of sentient machines, the automated factories stopped producing weapons for the Empire. On Chloros, a world-spanning jungle came alive, its plant beings uprooting Imperial bases. Back on Earth, Dr. Amelia Chang worked tirelessly in her lab, unlocking more secrets from the ancient artifact. One day, she made a startling discovery. "President Chen," she said over a secure video link, her eyes shining with excitement, "I found something incredible. The artifact. It's not just a database. It's a key to a network of wormholes spread across the galaxy." Chen's eyes widened. You mean we can travel to distant stars instantly? Exactly, Chang nodded. And I believe this is how the artifact's creators spread their technology to other worlds, including ours, long ago. This discovery changed everything. Earth now had the means to reach out to its new allies, to explore the galaxy, and to stand against the Empire on an equal footing. As news of the wormhole network spread, more worlds reached out to Earth. They sought protection, alliances, and the secret to Earth's powerful technology. In a hidden rebel base on the desert world of Aridus, a group of aliens gathered around a holographic display of Earth. Their leader, a tall, willowy being named Zora, addressed the group. "For too long, we have lived under the Empire's boot," she said, her voice filled with hope. "But now, we have a chance. Earth has shown us that the Empire can be defeated. They offer us not just protection, but partnership. A chance to shape our own destinies." A cheer went up from the assembled rebels. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Earth became a symbol of hope, of resistance against tyranny. But with this new role came new dangers. The Empire, though weakened, was far from defeated. And there were other powers in the galaxy, some perhaps even more dangerous than the Empire, who now turned their attention to Earth. As President Chen looked out at the stars from her office window, she knew that humanity's greatest adventures and greatest challenges were just beginning. Earth had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and there was no turning back. The galaxy watched and waited, wondering what this young, fierce, freedom-loving race would do next. 5 years had passed since Earth's victory over the Galactic Empire. The planet had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Gleaming spaceports dotted the globe, their launch pads busy with ships coming and going from distant worlds. In New York, the United Nations building had been replaced by a massive structure that looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. This was the headquarters of the Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds, with Earth at its center. President Sarah Chen, now serving as Earth's representative to the Alliance, stood at a window overlooking the bustling city. Hover cars zipped between buildings, while holographic advertisements flickered in the air. "Madam President," her aide called, "the Andromedan delegation has arrived." Chen nodded and made her way to the conference room. Inside, a group of tall, blue-skinned aliens waited. They bowed as she entered. "Welcome to Earth," Chen said warmly. "We're honored to have you join the Alliance." The lead Andromedan, his eyes shimmering like galaxies, spoke. "The honor is ours. Your world's stand against the Empire inspired us to seek our own freedom." As they talked, news screens around the world broadcast the latest update from the front lines. The war against the Empire was ongoing, but the Alliance was winning. More worlds joined every day, drawn by Earth's promise of freedom and protection. Meanwhile, in orbit, the International Space Station had grown into a sprawling complex. It served as both a military command center and a hub for scientific research. Dr. Amelia Chung, now head of Earth's Xenotechnology Division, worked there, studying the wormhole network. "John, look at this," she called to her colleague, astronaut-turned-scientist John Martinez. On her screen, a map of the galaxy flickered, showing hundreds of interconnected points. "Is that what I think it is?" John asked, his eyes wide. Amelia nodded excitedly. "Yes, it's a complete map of the wormhole network. With this, we can reach every corner of the galaxy." Back on Earth, in a small town in Kansas, life went on. At the local high school, teacher Mike Johnson was giving a history lesson. "And so, class," he said, pointing to a holographic display, "that's how Earth went from a single, isolated world to the center of a galactic alliance in just 5 years." A student raised her hand. "Mr. Johnson, do you think we'll ever meet the aliens who left the artifact?" Mike smiled. "That's the big question, isn't it? Maybe someday we will. The galaxy's a big place, full of mysteries." As the class ended, the students rushed out, chattering excitedly about which alien world they'd visit when they grew up. In the Tibetan mountains, The cave where the artifact was found had become a major research center. Scientists from 100 worlds worked there, trying to unlock more of its secrets. One day, as a team was running tests, the artifact began to glow. A holographic message appeared, showing beings of pure light. "Greetings, children of Earth," the message said. "If you are seeing this, you have proven yourselves worthy. We are the ancients, and we have waited eons for a species like yours to arise." The message spread quickly across Earth and its allied worlds. The ancients, it seemed, had seeded the galaxy with their technology, waiting for a species with the right balance of intelligence, courage, and compassion to find it. In the Alliance headquarters, President Chen met with leaders from across the galaxy to discuss this new revelation. "This changes everything," the Zorkan representative said, its crystal body glittering. Chen nodded. "It does, but it also confirms what we've believed all along, that freedom and cooperation are the keys to advancement." As the meeting ended, Shen looked out at the stars, visible even in the daytime thanks to Earth's new atmospheric shields. She thought about how far they'd come, and how far they still had to go. The Empire was still a threat, and there were other dangers lurking in the dark spaces between the stars. But Earth and its allies were ready. They had each other, they had the ancients' legacy, and most importantly, they had hope. As night fell, people across Earth and its allied worlds looked up at the stars. Once distant and unreachable, they were now highways to adventure, to discovery, to new friendships and new challenges. A new era had truly begun. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as explorers, peacekeepers, and friends. The galaxy would never be the same again. And somewhere out there, the ancients watched and smiled, knowing their long wait had not been in vain.